Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game S. So today I got a fun, exciting, and slightly spooky episode for you guys this evening because we are playing and talking about the demo for Tenebris Somnia. Every once in a while something pops up on my Steam Discover page and I am intrigued by some screenshots and I want to go in and see what the demo's doing. When I played this game I was absolutely blown away both by its style and substance as well as playing around with the full motion video genre. And once I actually got through the demo I absolutely knew I wanted to talk about this game. This video and the demo are a slow burn indeed, but trust me, there is a payoff at the end of the video, and I want to convince pretty much everyone to try this demo out because it is now one of my most anticipated games of 2025, and that seems to be when the release date is. Before you get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, got a Patreon link down below as well. And trust me, I am skipping ahead for just a moment, but the horror does come in. Stick with the video and trust me, because this is doing everything I love about a retro-style indie game. It's harkening back to point-and-click adventure games from the 90s, as well as stuff like Clock Tower from Human Entertainment on the Super Nintendo, but it does give you full control of your character. And the art style just looks absolutely outstanding. Something like Sierra would have done with a Leisure Suit Larry game is the inspiration I'm getting, at least on the art side. Now thematically this is going to feel like an Italian horror movie from somebody like Dario Argento, and if you're not familiar with that, just trust me, look up his filmography. There's definitely something in there for everyone. And I just love what this game is doing, from the inventory screen to the pixel art to the story, and I am hiding some of the story from you so you can actually play this and get a little bit more. This is just such a unique experience. That's what I love about games like this. It does something new and unique with a genre that you're very familiar with, and towards the end of the video it is going to mix in those FMV sequences. They are exceedingly well shot and make you really intrigued as to what's going to happen. But the basic premise is you're checking on your ex-boyfriend because he's gone unresponsive and you've been having dreams about monsters attacking him. That is the inciting incident that kicks off the entire demo, and then from there it throws in those survival horror slash point and click adventure game elements of having to find and combine items within the game universe to progress forward, but it does it in such an intelligent way. It kind of keystones and breadcrumbs all the clues you need, so there's not going to be anything esoteric in here like a point and click adventure game puzzle that feels unsolvable. When you figure something out, you feel accomplished and you never feel like you just accidentally randomly stumbled on the solution. But this is just such an intriguing visual look. If you didn't grow up in this era of games, maybe it's not doing it for you as much. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think of the art style. But for me, this just sets a tone and a mood, and I am so interested in seeing where the developers are going to take this. And I do leave a Steam link in the description below as well. You'll see we got the Derelictus book here, and none of the pages are readable except one, and I'm sure in the full game more of these pages are going to become readable. But you'll see here that sulfur blocking the door in the living room. We need a certain substance to be able to go ahead and melt that. So now we have our first puzzle, our first hunt, and we're going to just explore the universe that the game sets up to find those items, and it does it so well. And it gives you these little visual clues as to what's going on. You start to wonder, why is your ex-boyfriend boarding up all the windows? Is he trying to keep something out, or is he trying to keep something in? You will discover the answer to that question, but just these little visual cues really start making you think what might be going on in this story. And I will say the dialogue for what is written here is relatively good. Every once in a while it feels like maybe there's a little grammatical mistake. Possibly the developers are not English native speakers, but honestly that is stuff that could totally get cleaned up in a released version. And I love all of the meaningless text that isn't meaningless but isn't really driving the puzzle forward, just setting up the entire environment of what's going on here. In some ways this feels like a 2D Dr. Hauser on the 3DO or a 2D Resident Evil, but it really does have those Clock Tower vibes going on, especially here with that shadow behind the curtain in the tub. If you've never played Clock Tower before, this is an iconic sequence in that game, and while things don't occur the same way here, you can absolutely see the classic video game horror DNA all over this title. And I do like, as we get further into the apartment, how everything starts to devolve more. You find that he's basically destroyed his entire developing set here for film, and he's thrown all of his trophies in the trash. Now granted, this story is about a motion picture film, and honestly that really isn't something you can develop in a bathroom at home. That's more for still photography photography. So one thing I did notice, but honestly, 99 out of 100 you may not even think that. And we did find a wrench in the bathroom, which is going to become important. But you'll see here, if you go into the kitchen, there is a fire burning in the stove. And what you're going to discover is that the person we're looking for has burnt their short film in the oven, and that's going to be a very big story component moving forward. And honestly, modern film doesn't really burn that well, but old film, vintage print stock, will go up like an absolute tinderbox if you put a match to it. We're talking about the classic stuff from the 20s and 30s. But as we find more clues in the universe and find more items, we are getting closer to the actual combination of this demo. And I love that the demo is just one slice of the game, or at least that I have discovered. It's possible that you can do more than one thing in more than one way in this demo and see different story beats or different elements, but for me, this was my first capture blind playthrough, because once I saw the screenshots, I thought to myself, I really wanted to be able to talk about this game if I wanted to, having played it the first time. And now that we know that that board was loose, we can knock it loose with the wrench and go ahead and go back into the book to get those clues. Combining the developer with the cup is going to give you one half of the puzzle, but once you read that Derelicto book, you found out that it also needs iron, and in the kitchen it tells you a good substitute for iron is human blood. And if you don't remember already, we have seen that somewhere in the universe of this game. And that's what I really like about the storytelling elements. Everything leads you in the right direction. It holds your hand. If you go back in here and try to combine the cup with the blood on the mirror, you're going to be able to get the last component to make the solution you need to put in the sunlight. And that's what I mean when I say these puzzles follow a logic. Everything makes sense. You know what you're supposed to do next. It requires a little bit of thinking, but nothing so esoteric that you're not going to understand how to solve it. And now that we have placed that cup in front of the sun and basically baked it, we now have the mixture to be able to melt this red wax in front of the door and go into the one room in the game that has been keeping us from going into this whole time. And of course, this is where things get genuinely weird, absolutely scary, and very interesting from a gameplay content design as well. But what this demo's done better than most demos I have ever played is it just gets its hooks into me and makes me want to know what's going to come next, because now that we've gotten into this back room, you're going to see this waxy-like substance on the floor that was trapping something that definitely has the silhouette of some form of a human or other creature with 2 legs, 2 arms, and some sort of deformed head. And you get a lot more information about the overall story here. There are some light spoilers, but again, this is a demo and the story could very likely change through the finished release. But you'll see here as we look onto the wall, her ex-boyfriend was basically having an absolute breakdown when she left. And this is a familiar story, I'm sure, to at least 50% of you. This is something that happens basically in everyone's life at some point in time. So what they're wrapping the story around here is instantaneously relatable outside of the horror elements, because I don't think this has ever happened anywhere in the real world, but you never know what strange things are going on out there. And it just makes me want to know what's coming next. I will absolutely buy this game day one when it releases and do a review for it, because the 12 to 13 minutes of this demo just make me absolutely want to know what happens next. It ends on an absolute cliffhanger, which I will show you in a minute, but again, I love this art style and how the room is silhouetted. It is not a simple shape. You can see the light coming from the corner, and it kind of draws the lines down to the left and right hand side of the screen. You'll see here that I have that wrench, and I now have a green candle, and he talks about going down to the basement, so that's the place we need to try to go next. This is just one slice of the game. We're just in her ex-boyfriend's apartment, and already we have new areas to explore, locked doors with these symbols behind them. The game has absolutely just completely changed itself when we come out, and I would say that this game maybe has a little bit of an Undertale vibe as well. Not a game I've ever played, just seen footage of, but the colors here kind of make me feel like this is what they're trying to go for. But once you actually try to leave the apartment again, this is when Tenebris Somnia gets very interesting and does something that I've never seen any other game really do before, and it is absolutely effective and terrifying. So if you don't want to watch, now's the time to click away. Otherwise, watch, and I'll be right back. what the developers have done have actually cut in film sequences showcasing the monsters before you go back to the gameplay. And while that's not a $100 million budget monster, it is highly effective, and I can't wait to see how else they actually marry these film sequences together with the gameplay elements. This is basically almost like an evolution of the full motion video genre, but really it is survival horror in 2D with these very nice film sequences cut in. And we know we need to go to the elevator to try to get to the basement because the game has told us that's what's coming next, and at least through my playthrough that is when the demo ended. But Tenebris Somnia has my attention. I am very excited. You should go play the demo, and when the game comes out I'll review it, but I was just stoked on this and I wanted to tell you guys about it. See you next time. Bye bye.